there's an undeniable bond between Speedway and the country. Out here, these humble venues possess a certain charm. The stringy fences might be tinted with rust, signs hand-painted, seats still dusty from the last race meeting, but they just feel so welcoming, homely. They represent everything that's good about Speedway. It's where the heart and soul of this great sport lives. The people here have a sense of pride in their track, much like they do about their local footy oval, and they connect with the racers, many of whom hail from the country themselves. ENZED World Series Sprintcars may be Australia's premier speedway series, but it's proud to say half the events are held in regional Australia. Tracks just like this one. When the show rolls into town, it does so with great fanfare. Cuts through the endless farmland, takes one look at the quaint township, and disturbs the peace. Despite being classed as our first regional stop on the calendar, South Australia's Murray Bridge Speedway is only 70 k's southeast of Adelaide. In 1879, the town was the location for the first road bridge across the Murray River. Now a city, the bridges of today are iconic, and the Murray makes a great attraction, especially at this time of year. Alongside the river sits a very challenging speedway, challenging because of its size. At just 360 metres long, it's the shortest track on the World Series trail. Racing here is like fighting through peak hour traffic in a bathtub. And to make life harder, the event comes just one night after the season opening race in Adelaide. No rest for the wicked quick in ENZED World Series Sprint Cars presented by Hog's Breath Cafe. It's the second round of the championship. It's night 2 of Speed Week and it's the first of 6 trips to regional Australia. G'day everyone and welcome to beautiful Murray Bridge in South Australia where we have perfect conditions for racing, albeit, a little bit windy. We have a big crowd already starting to fill this 55-year-old Speedway, and I bet that they're waiting to see if we can fill the podium with 3 more South Aussies. Nothing like seeing a local boy take out the first round. Luke Dillon successful on night 1 at Adelaide. Brad Keller was the big shock on the podium along with Stephen Lyons. Further down the list, so have a look. The Americans, not the start they wanted. Shane Stewart down there in 6th, Jason Johnson in 7th, and unfortunately a big DNF for Tim Kading in his first ENZED World Series race meeting. Well, on the subject of Tim Kading, they had a sleepless night, the Cricket Motorsport team, trying to make sure that they had a spare car prepared for night number 2. Now we go to Murray Bridge's own Brian Ingerson with those boys right now.
Yes, some bleary eyes down here at the Cricket Motorsport team, and it's no wonder. Shane, tell us what the team had to go through last night.
Yeah, look, we had a little bit of an incident last night where unfortunately we destroyed our number 1 car. But look, that's motor racing, especially as you know, you've been around sprint cars a long time. So basically what we had to do was go back and build our other car. This is a brand new car that hasn't raced. So at the end of the day, Tim and I knocked off at about 5 a.m. and we went back and had a couple of hours sleep. Then Shane and Brendan rolled in about 9:45 this morning. They went and had a couple of hours sleep. Jody Taylor and myself went and did the laundry, got all that organised. Then the boys got up, finished off a few things.
I understand a forklift was required to change the engine last night.
Fortunately, GKR, Kevin Small, came through and was very kind to lend us his facility to help work, because working in a car park at 3 or 4 in the morning is not ideal. Look, that's a part of sprint car racing. You know, that's somebody had to remind me at 4 o'clock this morning how much I love it or why we do it, but that's one of the things we do, so touch wood, we'll be okay tonight.
Well, Tim had a disappointing time trial last night. Fingers crossed it's a better run for you guys tonight. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, let's hope so. Thanks very much, Bri.
So here we are at Murray Bridge Speedway, Murray Machining and Sheds Murray Bridge Speedway for Revolution Race Gear qualifying. It's always very busy on the infield. It's an elbows up, get your spurs on kind of place, this joint, as we see Shane Stewart. Little disappointing by his own standards last night. Jack Perkins joins me as we take a look at this Indiana-based, Oklahoma-born American.
Great to watch these Americans and great to be at Murray Bridge. This is one of my favourite speedways, a great place to watch the racing. And here we are watching the monster car. It's a great looking car, isn't it, Wade?
It sure is. His quickest lap was on lap 2 at 11.377. Spare a thought for this team. No sleep at all. They destroyed a car in a crash last night with Sean Dobson. They're back now with a fresh fish, a new cool chassis. They're good to go. And Kading looking pretty fast out there.
He is. It's great to see the team got that new chassis, worked long into the morning to get this thing ready, and the driver's holding his end of the bargain up. Once you've had a big crash, what you really want to do the next night is back it up with a good result. He started pretty well in time trials.
11.229. Quick time for Revolution Race Gear as we see Sean Dobson on the Speedway driving for the Downing brothers, the mainline Dynalog Dynamometers car, and he's another one of the mainline sponsored drivers. Good job for Dobson, third quickest at the moment as we see David Murcott, worth the price of admission every time he shows up. Mark Mozzie House, the Tasmanian, looking pretty strong here.
He is, but great to see Murcott join the series here at Murray Bridge. Always great to watch, as you say. There's a few guys that really put bums on seats in this series.
Good job for House so far. He looks pretty quick. The Tasmanian, the statewide diesel and turbos entry from Forest in Tasmania. This guy, a really good character, and nice job. Locks it in at P5. His fastest lap was on lap 1 at an 11.688. Now, Jason Johnson, how hard was he pushing? We're about to see just how hard. The HM Racing 47, watch this, out of turn 4, bang!
That is as hard on the limit as you will ever get here. On the exit of turn 4, he's just touched the fence. Doesn't look like it's damaged the car. It wouldn't have been ideal for his lap time, and he'll be looking to do the best job he can after a slightly disappointing round 1 at Adelaide.
There you go, 11.449. His second lap was better as you picked it. Speaking of guys that are just excitement machines, this man here, Stephen Lyons, the car based in Albany in Western Australia. The team is based there. Basically, the race car spends its time at Lyons' workshop in Mount Gambier. How fast is he? 11.323. Gee, it's good to watch this guy.
He is an absolute pleasure to watch. He's always exciting, always flat out looking for the fastest line around the track. And let's watch him later on. I reckon he'll try and sneak right up the wall around the corners.
One of the South Aussie posse on the racetrack right now, the Repeaty Earthworks 29 of Matt Mumbo Eagle. This guy's one hell of a racer and is indicative of how many hot new talents there are in South Australia. Eagles comes in with an 11.498. That is 6th quickest. Good result for him. So we now see Wayne Rowett, the man known as Snow, an onion farmer and a hard-charging man in an ART chassis. Oh, front wing just fell down just then.
Yeah, that's not what he would have liked. In time trials, you want the car to be in terrific trim, and when it loses a little bit of the front aerodynamic assistance, it wouldn't have been a pleasure to drive. So, a bit disappointing for him, but as you touched on, good to see South Australia bringing in some great young talent. There's some really good young guys coming through, and they're a pleasure to watch.
Here is Kyle Hurst. This guy's a gasser right here, driving that number 99 car out of Broken Hill. Tremendous job for him. And Hurst comes in at 5th quickest, the Californian. 2 years ago, this man was the World Series Sprintcars champion. He has an elite credit to his name. He's one of 3 only men to have won an Australian speed car and Australian sprint car title. George Tatnell and Phil March, the only other men to have done that. Fari comes in at P9 as we look at the defending champ right now, James McFadden, in the totally workwear number 25.
James McFadden, always good to watch. He's fast straight out the gate. As we see Luke Dillon here, the round 1 winner, another South Australian local. He had a great first night, and he'll be looking to continue that on here at Murray Bridge.
A circuit he's very, very well versed at. He's always quick around this place. Trent Pigden, West Aussie. Very good budget for this car. This guy stands on the pedal with both feet. He's used to the big flowing motorplex. Watch this. On it and on it hard. That's how easy the front wheels come up when you've got 900 horsepower under your boot. So let's have a look at the points and how they timed in. Tim Kading, quick time, thanks to Revolution Race Gear. Lyons is 2nd, Stewart 3rd, Sean Dobson, Kyle Hurst, Jason Johnson, James McFadden. Usual suspects there. Then you got Matt Eagle, David Murcott and Robbie Farr rounding out your top 10. Good results for Pesca and Keller in there as well. Probably the surprise, Stephen Caruso and Nick Lacey. That was qualifying.
There's no better way to repay the team for all their hard work last night. Tim Kading goes and puts the car quick time. That is the perfect way to start off, well, correcting what was a bad night last night.
Yeah, I got to thank Shane and Brandon. in Finchy, everywhere with Cricket Motorsports. They worked their tails off till about 10 o'clock this morning. Took a 2-hour nap. We got here about 2 o'clock and still had a bunch of work to do, and it paid off. We persevered. I got to give this credit to them. They busted their tails all night, and I got to give it back to them. They woke a sleeping giant last night, and I'm going to say I'm really pissed off at this point and not drunk, so we're good to go.
Well, the good news is you get a big bank of points for being quick time, but the bad news is now you're going to go out of position number 10 in the first heat. It's like a great Californian said, he always liked doing it from the rear. So we're going to go back out there, put a show on for the fans, and start in the back and just do what we know how to do best, and that's driving living wheels off this thing. Tim, congratulations, man. Your quick time tonight here at Murray Bridge.
Thank you.
Coming up after the break, it's time to catch all the highlights of our heat racing action. So it's time to have a look at highlights of heat racing, the ENZED World Series Sprintcars, presented by Hog's Breath Cafe. Team cars, Rowett and Tranter, starting on the front row here. Ricky Mayolo in there and Robbie Farr making some early progress down the bottom. This is such a racy joint. Look at Sean Bradford. If you've got the kahunas, you can go fast here, Jack.
You can. It's one of those tracks where the high line can work and the low line works as well. That looks like Caruso in the fence in the number 10 car. Looks like he's just caught the wall and put a bit of damage there, and his heat's over.
Jake Tranter, how good this boy, 17 years of age. Not to put too much pressure on the kid already, but he's settling in very nicely. Guerin, young Brendan Guerin there with also West Aussie youngster Todd Waddell. Trevor Green through the middle, Matt Eagle charging. Geez, a flock of fast South Aussies right there. Lines all over Trevor Green in that Natrad number 4. It's always elbows up. I love this place.
Yeah, and Trevor Green will be one of the toughest blokes to get past around here as Phil March takes the heat win from Luke Bowie and Matt Eagle.
Luke Dillon charging hard there with David Murcott and also Ryan Jones, another guy who's got a lot of experience around this place. He's won 3 Australian 360 cubic inch titles here. Luke Dillon, a lot of success in Formula 500s around here, as well, of course, as sprint cars, trying to back up that great win last night. Well done to Pitt, however. What a tremendous result for Terry Pitt. Let's take a look at the points after the first round of heats for your NZ World Series Sprint Cars, presented by Hog's Breath Cafe. Lines leads by 2 over Kading and Eagle. Dobson strong, so is Murcott, Johnson, Hurst and Stewart. Right at the moment, those guys locked into the top 8, but there's one more group of heats still to come.
First round of heats done, and we've had a win for the youngest guy and the oldest guy, and I'm here with the youngest, Jake Snake Tranter. Mate, congratulations. How was that out there?
Cheers, mate. It was really good. We had a good start. We had the fire in at second, then Snow a couple laps in pulled in, so yeah, we got the lead and we're away.
What was running through your head at that minute where you saw him just pull off to the left and you thought, oh man, I'm in the front, run like hell?
Well, I was half sort of going to go to the bottom through 2 and 3 and 4, but yeah, he pulled off and I realised, and yeah, we went around the top and we were right.
It's an NZ World Series event. Do you get intimidated knowing that there are some very fast drivers behind you?
Oh, it's a bit like that, but you get used to it after running a few rounds at it, and yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Well, so how's the rest of the night going to pan out?
Oh, we're not sure yet. We'll see what happens. We'll probably be in the B or C. We'll see how we go.
All right, man. Good luck.
No worries. Cheers, Chad.
So it's time to look at the second group of qualifying heats right now in highlight form here at Murray Machining and Sheds, Murray Bridge Speedway, and World Series Sprint Cars action in heats can get a little wild and willing. Robbie Farr, through no fault of his own, gets caught up here in the East Coast Pipeline number 7 and goes upside down.
Really unlucky for Farr there. He had nowhere to go and got caught between the cars that were crashing and the wall, and it's done a bit of damage to that car by the look of it.
Philip March, big charge through on young Todd Waddell. How good is Marchy? Very fit these days. He runs up the Mount Lofty Ranges or something ridiculous every day. Remarkably fit character, and what a career over the years at Maxwell Engines number 3. Rowett alongside Steve Corn. Bit of an ugly start, this one. Caruso, who fixed the car but got back out there. You can see Chad Eli running strong. Pigden turns the car, and unfortunately Taylor Milling had nowhere to go. Damage to both those cars. The Trent Pigden PMS number 19 involved. Chad Eli turns the Fuchs Lubricants number 22. Damage to the left front of that number 22. He spent a fair bit of time racing in America. Racetrack getting a little bit slippery here, and Mozzie House are realising that turn 4 is a touch slick.
It's very slick. You can see the two different colours of the track. The real lighter colour is not a lot of grip to offer for the drivers, and they try and push the car up high. As we look as heat number 6, we see Shane Stewart in the monster car. He'll be looking to get through the field and up the front.
3 wide just down on the main straightaway too, Jack. We just see Kyle Hurst lurking in that number 99 high race towing entry. Now, Ryan Jones and Luke Bowie. Ryan threw the speculator slide job in there. Luke moved up. He got a little bit crowded on the inside. Car straightened up. And the Gawler Car World 55 smacked the wall hard and rolled over. Oh, you just see Murcott just squeezing through there. And this budget team out of Evanston in Gawler in South Australia end up having an unfortunate tear up there that they can ill afford. Bang, into the wall, and a grinding crash too, Jack. They do a lot of damage when you really drill the wall sideways like that.
They do. It's done a lot of damage to that car, and Murcott was so close there. He's got damage on the top wing, as we can see there on the side of the 83. That's how close he was to getting caught up in that crash.
Won't stop him standing on the gas with both feet. Old Murky, he loves it. Now, have a look how high everybody's running. This is young Brendan Guerin. What a talented young man this guy is out of Broken Hill. Great result for him. Here's the points after the second round of heats now. Kading, 5 points clear of Dobson. Murcott, Eagle, Keller, Lines and McFadden and March all locked into the top 8 right now. Coming up after the break, we're going to do an open red thanks to Amadio Wines with Bryony Ingerson and Daniel Pesca. And it's the Vortex Wings top 8 shootout. Starting to get hot in the kitchen.
Daniel Pesca, we've managed to drag you away from the Speedway for a moment. We're down here on the banks of the Murray River. You live not far from here.
No, I only live about half an hour in Strathalbyn, a little small farming town.
Tell us about growing up and what you've raced to get to this point.
My dad got me into go-karts when I was about 6 years old, and I raced them for 8 years till I was about 14, and then I went and raced motocross for a couple of years.
Tell me what it was like the first time you drove a sprint car.
I never had any practice or anything. I just went straight out for hot laps with it. It was halfway through the season when I turned 16, so I just went straight out with them, and I was a bit overwhelmed to start with. Everyone was passing me and all that sort of stuff, but I got through it not too bad.
I'm sure you've followed sprint car racing from a young age. Who did you admire as a kid, and who was one of your idols?
Yeah, I definitely always wore a Max hat, and I always went for him, and I used to like Brooke too, but Max was my favourite back in the day.
How does it feel now that you're racing as a contractor driver in World Series, where those guys started out and were so successful?
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, really. It's a dream come true.
You're 21 years old. I imagine guys your age are out having fun, partying, living it up. But I'm assuming that if you want to race sprint cars, you have to approach it differently?
Yeah, definitely. I don't do a lot of that stuff now. A lot of my friends do, and always, telling me I should be out with them, but I just don't have the time and the money, but I don't want it any other way.
World Series is tough, especially Speed Week. There's 5 nights of racing over 7 nights. Are there any tracks that you're particularly looking forward to or even intimidated by?
No, not really. I race on most of them a fair bit of the time, so I'm pretty comfortable with all of them. And, we know where the hotels are and how far it is to travel to each one, and we get through it pretty good, the Speed Week.
What's a typical day like away from the racetrack?
We normally just stay in the shed and work in the bakery. There's always something to do, organising something. And when I can, go for a ride on my bike and just go to friends' houses and hang out.
You work in the bakery with your dad. What's your signature dish?
Probably the meat pies, but it's all pretty good.
Well, I think this Amadio Cab Sav would go really well with a meat pie, and because it's your 21st, congratulations. This is from us at World Series, but I have to ask, if you're going to share a glass of wine with anyone, who would it be?
Probably Tony Stewart, probably.
Tony Stewart?
Yeah, I reckon him would be pretty good.
Fantastic. Thank you for taking the time out of the World Series schedule, and all the best of luck.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks very much indeed to Bryony Ingerson, sharing an Amadio Wines Open Red with Daniel Pesca, who turns 21 today. On screen now, it's your Vortex Wings Top 8 shootout. and this is a chance for you to move forward. We're looking at cars 8th, 7th, 6th and 5th in points now to do 3 laps. You must be the fastest 2, inside that fastest 2, in order to go forward to the silver shootout. It's a time trial based system. As you said, Jack, it's a little bit similar to your top 8 shootout or your top 10 shootout in supercars.
It is. It's a great part of the night because you haven't been on the track for a couple of hours. It's dark now and you've got to hold the car wide open and try and do the fastest lap time you can to try and improve your grid position for the A-main.
The Roos brothers team putting a very good operation together for Kyle Hurst, the Californian, James McFadden, Glenn Beaton, his crew chief. Oh, problem for Hurst just then. The 99 car looked like it was stopped on the edge of the racetrack. It throws the yellows. We don't often see this. In fact, we hardly ever see yellow. And you can see it's got a flat left rear tyre, a little bit of unburnt fuel now igniting out of the exhaust just there. Stephen Pickering, one of the best Speedway photographers in the game, just blocking our shot just a little of the left rear, but that's the problem for Hurst, so he'll be out. Unfortunately, what we do know from that is he'll be starting in position 8 in tonight's ENZED World Series Sprintcars, presented by Hog's Breath Cafe A-Main. Man, there's some exciting talent in this racetrack right now, Jack Perkins.
There is. We've got James McFadden on screen as we see Kyle Hurst's car get towed off to the infield. Once the car's clear, we'll be rejoining this bronze shootout. And Stephen Lyons here. Like we said, McFadden and Lyons probably the 2 of the most exciting drivers to watch, especially in this format. They are flat out, balls to the wall, trying to go as fast as they can to really get a good grid position for this A-main.
Brad Keller doing an outstanding job yet again. Last night, a career best 2nd position for him in the A-main. And here he is in the top 8 shootout with James McFadden and Stephen Lyons. McFadden driving a cool chassis out of Warrnambool in Victoria. These cars are created. The KBC of Lyons, however, is produced in America, and it was developed out of the Jason Myers workshop, the 2-time World of Outlaws back-to-back series champion. Lyons powering out of this turn. He's always had a good run here at Murray Bridge. Keller trying to bust in. Lyons currently quickest, however. McFadden in that 2nd spot. Can Keller sneak in? No, I don't think he can. So Lyons and McFadden, 11.017 for Lyons. McFadden, 11.06. Keller will start the A-main from position number 7. Nothing to worry about there. A little bit of flame out of the exhaust in the McFadden car as Matt Eagle in that number 29 Repeaty Earthworks car trying to get himself up. Now these are now 4th and 3rd in points. Murcott and Eagle now join the Speedway with Lyons and McFadden. And again, Jack Perkins, you need to be the fastest 2 cars on the racetrack.
You do, and McFadden and Lyons have got a little bit of an advantage in the sense that they were in the first shootout. They know how the track is, how their car's handling, but Murcott is one of the best guys to watch in this shootout. He's always impressive to watch, as we've got Matt Eagle on screen there now.
Eagles in that car looks a little bit Danica Patrick-esque, a bit GoDaddy about it. Oh, unusual mistake just there for James McFadden. Had to double step the throttle just a bit then and pull the car back in under line. Speaking of lines, this guy is just weapon quick. Running very low tyre pressure on that number 3 car in the left rear. That looks a little flat to me.
It does. It's obviously what they've worked on that's going to work for them in this format. Maybe a bit more stagger helps the car turn into these left-hand corners. As we see a little bit of smoke coming out of Murcott's car, he's flat out. You can see he has not lifted through there because the smoke continues to pour out the side.
I tell you what, I know what you're saying about, different setups and stuff, but I think Lyons might have a flat left rear there, Jack. That seemed to be unusually low on the left rear. We'll keep an eye on that. Lyons goes through in 11.07 and McFadden, so they'll now advance to the gold shootout. Gee, that's surprising. The Bridgestone Tyre Centre Albany number 3 as Eagle pulls in with flames belching out of these monsters. There's nothing on earth like a sprint car, Jack.
No, there isn't, especially under lights when it's dark. They all flame out. They've got glowing hot brake discs as well. It's a great spectacle for the fans as we get ready for the gold shootout now. Enter Tim Kading and Sean Dobson. They're up against Stephen Lyons and James McFadden, the gunning for the best grid spot for the A-main.
Great result for Sean Dobson, putting that Downing Brothers car cool up into this top 4 position. Here we are, American Tim Kading driving the Cricky Motorsports number 2. They junked the car last night in a crash in the A-main, built up a new cool chassis for tonight, and Kading desperately trying to reward his Bunbury Western Australian team with a win here tonight. Lyons really charging. Just look at that left rear, Jack. That thing looks way low. It's working for him. He's made his way through. McFadden charging harder as well. This is a chance for pole position.
Absolutely, and massive credit needs to go to the Cricket team, as we spoke about. Tim Kading, he destroyed the car last night. He would really love to get pole for the A-main here tonight, to give a credit back to the team, who did a great job. As we see line slowing, definitely looks like that's got a left rear puncture, unfortunately, but he still managed a quick time with an 11.1. What a great effort.
That's amazing. He sets quick time. There must have been a point there where that left rear, as it continued to get flat, was actually providing him more bite. It did pass the point of no return. He still locks it in. Remarkably, he will be on pole position after that tyre destroyed itself. Don't go away. Coming up after the break, it's the Hog's Breath B main and your NZ Championship A main for night 2 of Speed Week. Time now for the B main, your last chance qualifier. The first 6 cars across the line at the checkered flags falling will go into the back of the A main. So really, the hard work is only just beginning after you've ploughed through here. Ryan Jones and Terry Pitt on the front row. Ricky Maiolo, Luke Dillon, last night's winner, will have to come from the B main. Sean Bradford too, Nick Lacey, Mark House, a lot of World Series contracted guys. Steve Corn, Trent Pigden, those guys all having to come out of this last chance qualifier, Jack. It's elbows up here at the bridge.
It is, and it's tough. A lot of guys wouldn't have wanted to be in the B main, but you've got to qualify through to get through to the A. So let's watch the top 6 as we get a green flag. Who's going to get the run into the first corner? Is it Jones or Pitt?
Looks like Ryan Jones, Jack, got a good start. He drifts out wide a bit. Brendan Guerin gets a good run on the Century Batteries car. You just saw Jake Tranter a bit sideways, and Nick Lacey trying to work the bottom. Tranter comes back on the low side on that video easy number 26 of Nick Lacey. Wow, Ryan Jones checking out. Still a bit of mumbo left in this racetrack. Luke Dillon up on the back wheels.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke Dillon, last night's winner. He's coming through the B main, so it'll be interesting to watch. He definitely needs to get through to the A to keep the championship hopes alive.
Tranter and Lacey, the new faces of sprint car racing, as we see Sean Bradford in the 57 WA Metal Recycling Savannah Engineers, number 57 Maxim. He too trying to get himself into the show, charging hard. Man, he's a ripper. Really does rip it and grip it, Sean Bradford.
He does, absolutely. You see Ricky Maiolo there. He's pressing on hard, trying to get in that top 6, trying to get through to the A main.
Trent Pigden, a West Aussie in the 19. Now we're into lap traffic. Oh, Ryan Jones went to put a lap on Stephen Webber. It didn't come off, and now Pitt throws the big speculator up the inside, gets it all wrong just then. As we see Jack Lee in the drainage system 66. It's getting a bit ugly here. Jones, what is wrong with that car? I get the feeling something's wrong with it, because he all of a sudden is putting some really erratic corners together.
Yeah, he has. It's one of the toughest parts as they go 3 wide on the exit of turn 2. One of the toughest parts is lapping cars. They're having their own race and the leaders are still trying to pass them. It's a difficult scenario. We don't have any rear vision mirrors in the cars. As we see the number 55 car a little bit loose in the middle of turn 3 and 4. He'll be trying to get back on the road and not get in the road of Terry Pitt there and the number 8 who's right behind him.
The problem is too, Jack, is when your car is not free enough, when you can't really move it around the racetrack enough, and you're out by yourself, it's okay, but when you come up to traffic, all of a sudden you've got to pinch off your corners and you've got to try and drive the car differently. And look at this, Ryan Jones. It's almost like he's got like a flat right front tyre or something. The way that car is very tight in the corners. Lacey's just gone by and given Ryan a bit of a wake-up call. Luke Dillon on the march now, and that number 81, Sean Bradford just ahead of him. Terry Pitt doing an excellent job in the 8, just ahead of Jones. Now Lacey. See how Ryan Jones has all of a sudden thought, hang on, I've got to get on with this quickly. I'm losing spots.
Yeah, he does. He's got Nick Lacey right up the inside there now. Good to see some young guys coming through. I actually raced against Nick Lacey in kart, so it's good to see him pressing on here and making a name for himself in the Speedway world. And he rips right around the outside of about 3 of them. Great stuff.
What was going on there? Ricky Maiolo spins at 24. There was some UGLY, you ain't got no alibi, ugly lines going into turn 1 then. I don't know how we got out of it.
All happening their way. Great racing. Great for the fans here at Murray Bridge, as we see Luke Dillon, Jake Tranter, Mark House and Terry Pitt all fighting for that last transfer spot.
Yeah, good young South Aussie. His brother Hayden also races. A real family operation as we see Mark Mozzie House, the Tasmanian, trying to charge through as well. You've got to be in the top 6 or you're not going to make the big dance. Luke Dillon looks to wrap up this B main. Sean Bradford hot in pursuit. Nick Lacey will get himself into the show. Ryan Jones, Terry Pitt and Jake Tranter very, very close then for Mark House. He just misses the transfer by 1 position. Sprint car racing's a tough old game where no quarters are asked or given, something that Sean Dobson is becoming all too aware of.
The exciting little story that's been developing all night has been that little rivalry that's forming between Tim Kading and this man, Sean Dobson. I got to ask you, man, you're starting on the same row together. What's going to happen?
Yeah, look, mate, it's obviously continued from last night. There's a bit of tension there, obviously. But look, I'm no hard feelings. I mean, look, it was a racing incident, and obviously I can understand why he's a bit annoyed. But look, we'll just move on from that first heat race. They were racing side by side. I thought it was pretty clean, but I don't think he seemed to think that either. So look, I mean, see how the start goes. I mean, if he wants to play silly buggers, then I'll play silly buggers. Like it's that if he wants to do that, but I'm sure he's smarter than that to do that. We both want to finish a feature race and get good results for our team.
He was pretty quick after last night's accident to run over to where you were seated down in turn 3 and say, watch your back. Do you have a fear of retribution?
Yeah, look, I can understand that. I mean, we all get a little bit hot-headed and that, and I went and had to talk to him after the race and just said a few words and that. He didn't seem to want to listen, which is understandable, but they can try to intimidate you, but they don't scare you. I mean, you're going to cop it every now and again, so look, you got to deal with it. If he wants to try and crash someone out, he can do it, but hey, look, can't be scared of anyone.
35 laps out there, you're going to stay out of trouble?
Yeah, it's a long race, completely different to last night, which is a bit of a learning experience, but hey, look, I mean, we're just trying to last a few laps and then just try and build from the race from there.
Sean Dobson starting off the second row. Good luck, man.
Thanks, mate.
There's no time to waste between the B main and the A main, with very little time to turn around for teams.
What a hectic B main that was. Sean Bradford's going through. They're going to throw a new right rear tyre, and they're actually prepping that right rear tyre right now. You can see the team cutting away to try and sap some of the heat out. The problem they've been having with these current American racer tyres is the heat builds up and explodes like a little blister. So they're just trying to cut these little grooves into the tyre to make sure that they're getting as much heat out of that tyre. But the American racer tyre doing a good job so far. Here is Shawnee B at the back. He's putting on a new set of tear-off strips. Spare car ready to go. Don't need that one yet. And you're going through to the A main.
Yeah, straight in now. We had a problem in one of the heats and got caught up in a crash and had to go to the back, so that hurt us. We missed the B, missed the A's transfer, so come through the B, come second in that. We're going all right there, leading most of it, so I'm pretty happy with the car. It's good we've done some laps and hopefully we got the setup a bit better than some of the others that haven't got the run. Obviously the top qualifying 8 got a run, but hopefully we can move up through the pack.
Last night's A main was a little bit frustrating because you did cut down that right rear tyre, but you still made it to the finish.
Yeah, we got caught up in another incident of someone else's and cut the tyre, a couple of laps to go, managed to limp home with it going down and salvaged an 8th place, so top 10 finish first night, wasn't too bad.
Hopefully get some more points tonight.
Thanks, Chad.
The beauty of sprint car racing is that anything can and will happen, something that Jason Johnson, an American professional, has found out the hard way.
Well, while everyone's getting ready for the A main, one car's going back on the trailer early. Jason Johnson, what happened, man?
Just motor dramas, you know. Unfortunately, you know, with the air cooling off throughout the night, you got to stay with it. And, you know, I don't know if we didn't pay close enough attention or something went wrong, but it's just parts failure or whatever it is, we're out.
We could hear, I was out in the infield for that second heat that you're in, and as soon as that engine fired up in the first circulation, it sounded absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. You know, we pushed out for the first heat, and it sounded like it was misfiring a little bit, and once you give it some throttle, it cleared right up. So I thought maybe it was, you know, just cold. So, you know, we pushed off for the second heat, and we worked on it between heat races, and it didn't get any better.
You've had some pretty successful trips to Australia before. This one's not quite going to plan.
They're definitely not going our way right now, but, you know, it's a long week. We still got 3 important nights to go for Speed Week, and the HM guys are working their tails off. It's not from a lack of effort, so just go home, go back to Mount Gambier, regroup, and come back to Mount Gambier with the GT Bobcat family and run strong.
We'll see you there.
Thank you.
So it's time now for the A main. 35 laps ahead of us, $10,000 to win. Round 2 of the ENZED World Series Sprintcars, presented by Hogs Breath Cafe Speed Week Series. And these are the transferees. Those guys have just come off the back of a frantic B main. They now have to go into the back from position 15 through to 20, Jack, in the A main. They're going to be very busy boys.
Absolutely. Luke Dillon, he was last night's winner. He's already won tonight, but the B main, he wants to win the A main as we see the 4-wide salute. That means it's A main time, the best part of the night.
Look at this crowd, absolutely loving it. Sparklers galore. Let's take a look at your lineup right now. You see that Stephen Lyons has elected to start the inside front row here. Tim Kading and Sean Dobson on the second row. Murcott and Eagle on row 3. Hurst and Keller row 4.
And as we have a look at row 5, Trevor Green and Shane Stewart in the Monster Energy number 7. Phil March and Daniel Pesca, watch out for him. Robbie Farr and Luke Dillon, last night's winner.
Nick Lacey, a little bit further back. Sean Bradford, Terry Pitt. Jake Trant having to start off the very back. Jason Johnson missing from this. He's had engine problems tonight. He did qualify fairly well into the show, but has had dramas and cannot take part in the A-main. That will be crooning the Louisiana-born American racer. Just watching now, James McFadden in that totally workwear 25. Damage to the front wing already, just in for Dobson. There's trouble now for Tranter.
Yeah, not ideal for Tranter. He's just got caught up the back with Nick Lacey, and it's put the car in a roll and a lot of damage to the top wing.
You can see Jake moving around inside the car. He's perfectly safe. These cars very sturdy when it comes to the safety sides of things. March got caught up in there as well. It sort of checked everybody up with Robbie Farr. Nick Lacey had to check up, and Tranter really, it was the concertina effect. He had nowhere to go.
Yeah, a bit of a byproduct of the opening laps of a race. It always happens, whether it's bitumen or dirt racing. People trying to jostle for position, and he's fine. He's out of the car, and that's good to see.
He'll certainly learn from the experience. His dad, Jason Tranter, providing him an excellent opportunity. He's got Paul McMahon crewing for him, and also Doug Rankin. McMahon, a World of Outlaws superstar, teaching him how to drive these things, and Doug Rankin setting him up. What a dream team in your first season. Dobson, front wing damage on the 97. He's in trouble here, and look who runs into him. Shane Stewart.
That's a shame for Shane Stewart. It looks like he's had nowhere to go, and absolutely, cars come across the front of him. He's committed to the corner, driven into the side of it, and there's damage to both cars.
Injectorsonline.com replay sees Dobson turning the car. Wow, Hurst missed him by an absolute whisker. And ironically, Shane Stewart runs into the side of Dobson, spinning for the second time tonight. The young Tasmanian inside that South Australian-based car. The body language already says it all. Front end damage. And Dobson out, dejected, that is for sure. So here we are, back at the restart. Lyons and McFadden, Kading and Eagle. Great start for Matt Eagle to qualify up on the front row. Geez, how good was McFadden on the start just then?
Yeah, the restart's very crucial. You want to get the run into turn 1, and McFadden's got Lyons that time. Massive adjustable position back in the pack here. Great racing to watch, side by side, and they've all got through the first lap cleanly.
Eagle under pressure now from Tim Kading. Bradford squeezing through the middle, and Shane Stewart clearly sending a message that monster car is going forward.
As we see Kading now in the number 2 Cricky car. He was unfortunately damaged the car the night before. It's big wheel stand for Phil March as he's tackling the back of Robbie Farr in the number 7 car.
Couple of real gases there. We see Lyons working his way off turn 2 with Eagle all over him. Matt Eagle diving to the bottom now, trying to make the low side work. McFadden checking out. And Shane Stewart coming up behind the Natrad, number 4 of Trevor Green. Bradford under siege from Pitt. Track is nice and wide with 2 distinct lines here, Jack. As a racer, that's exactly what you want.
Absolutely, the track is really good. It's got 2 lines, means there's a lot of racing as we see Pesca, one of the local boys. I really enjoy watching this young guy. Great to see Gawler Farm Machinery backing him as he's dicing with some of Australia's best drivers.
Wow, Philip March just closed the door big time then. Pesca got up the inside. Robbie Farr in that battle as well. Keller in the Spitwater, faction number 19. A little bit of smoke coming from the 19 car right now. In fact, a lot of smoke from the 19. It looks like Brad continuing on just at the moment, so it may just be breathing some oil.
It's difficult to know, you can't quite see, but if it's leaking oil onto the track, it's not ideal for the other competitors. But James McFadden, what a great job. He made a great restart, and he is leading from the front.
Luke Dillon starting to come on now. Bearing in mind he won the B mains, that means he started, originally was supposed to start from 15, but he moved to position 14. McFadden! The leader has crashed into lap cars, and Eagle has spun as well. He's got right front flat tyre by the look of it. Now that is critical to the crash bar. That will crush the crash bar up onto the exhaust on that right side. Eagle turns as well. You just see Shane Collins, World Series race director, checking if there's any damage. Oh, Eagle, he'll be filthy. The flat right front tyre. Well, there's still plenty more left in this one. We'll take a break. When we come back, the resumption of your A-Main from Murray Bridge Speedway. Welcome back to NZ World Series Sprintcars, presented by Hog's Breath Cafe. There's 26 laps to go in the A-Main, and James McFadden is starting from the rear. This ought to be interesting. If you stop in sprint cars, Jack, you've got to go to the rear.
Absolutely. Nothing worse when you're leading a race, you're committed to 10-10s, and you get caught up in lap traffic having their own accidents, and what a shame for James McFadden. As we see now, we've restarted, and that's Trevor Green coming under pressure from Phil March, and Luke Dillon around the outside. He's come from the rear grid. That's great to watch.
Robbie Farr working with Brad Keller. Looks like that engine problem has sorted itself out now for Keller. Pesca in behind. McFadden's going to have to come from the rear. Oh, Robbie Farr banged the wall hard then. The East Coast Pipeline, number 7. You're talking about 10-10s. Robbie Farr, a gas-em-up racer. Hurst is coming on now. The American is flying. He goes by Kading. Murcott's in the middle. Oh, it's elbows up now, Jack Perkins.
It is, and what a racy track they've put on tonight here at Murray Bridge. That's the pressure. When you put the car up high on the racetrack, you're always running the risk of running close to the walls, as we see Tim Kading running the bottom line, trying to make that work for his number 2 car.
So American Kyle Hurst now into second. This is battling right now with Shane Stewart, Daniel Pesca, Ryan Jones, and James McFadden with damage to the top wing. He would have to have bet something on the right rear corner of that car suspension-wise. Doesn't look like it's affecting him at the moment, though. He's passing cars again from the rear.
Yeah, you're right there, Wade. A little bit of damage on the wing and definitely some damage to the chassis as we see Luke Dillon continuing his charge through the field. He's got that high line working really well, and he's able to pass all the guys up high.
What a drive from Luke Dillon. Here is McFadden coming from the rear in the totally workwear number 25. This is your leader, Stephen Lyons, the Bridgestone Tyre Centre Albany, number 3, Hall's haulage entry. The driver from Mount Gambier, the team out of Albany in Western Australia. This is another West Aussie team based out of Kalgoorlie. Uh-oh, that was Shane Stewart spun in the Monster Energy number 7. So we'll come back to a caution. And that is not good for the Monster Milwaukee Tools number 7. He was starting to get a good run going, Shane Stewart.
He was, and he'd be disappointed. That's twice now that car's come to a stop and caused a yellow flag. But restart now. Steve Lyons off the pole. He's doing a great job. Good restart. That's what you want. A nice, positive start. Eyes forward, and you want to try and lead from the front.
Look at Mac. Look at J-Mac starting to charge. This guy here can pedal. Kyle Hurst in that second spot. David Murcott in third. Was that Dillon making a big slider on the bottom there, chasing after Robbie Farr? This is epic back in the field. The traffic. Terry Pitt just there with Ryan Jones and now Shane Stewart. Luke Dillon going by Kading. The action line marking number 81. LD trying to back up last night.
He's doing a great job. That's impressive to watch. Whenever you transfer from the B and you're knocking on the door of a top 5, that's a great job for him and his team. They'd be stoked, especially after winning last night, and put their eyes forward and put a good championship program together.
Look at McFadden. He's now on the outside of Brad Keller. McFadden trying to storm back. Surely he couldn't win from the rear. He does amazing things day in, day out, but gee, that's a tall order to do this. But he's up behind Kading now. He's looking at a top 5 right now, McFadden.
He's a great talent, McFadden. He would be so disappointed after leading the race and getting caught up in someone else's crash. He would be driving that car at 11/10ths trying to make the most, as we see Luke Dillon really making that high line work for him.
Coming from position 14 is Luke Dillon. He won the B main. He's having to work a whole lot harder than he did last night when he started on the front row at Speedway City and drove away and was never headed. Oh, Kading! Into the wall, Californian Tim Kading, and it is torn off the right front wheel. That's the minimum of damage that car will have, and you can see the crumpled ruins. Oh, for the second night in a row, the Toyota Parts and Accessories cool chassis. And Tim, well, looks back at the car. He wanted to walk away. He realised he's got to go back and assess the damage for the team. Crash crew saying, are you okay? He rode the wall.
He did. As we look at the injectorsonline.com replay, that's a shame to see that car crash. It's a brand new chassis after they destroyed one at night 1, and he was running really well. Really disappointed there for Tim Kading. At least he's okay, but he'd be very disappointed because there's another long night ahead for that team.
Our first open red for NZ World Series in a feature race this year. And Nick Speed, the crew chief for Robbie Farr, they've decided to just tighten this car up a little bit, which usually means bringing that right rear in a touch. Though hopefully that makes the car, well, tighter grip out of the corners, but you can see through turn 4 that Robbie was just starting to slide too far up the racetrack. Should help him get out of those corners a bit quicker. We'll check up with some of the other guys to see what changes they're going to make to get back out with 16 laps to run.
Look at this. Luke Dillon is 4th. James McFadden is 5th. Stephen Lyons to lead away from Kyle Hurst, from Robbie Farr. Dillon in there as well. Geez, not a good start from Luke. He lost a lot of ground, but he picks the thing up beautifully into turn 1, runs the bottom and comes at Robbie Farr for the podium.
He does. We see Shane Stewart in the monster car. He's dicing with Ryan Jones and Terry Pitt there in the number 8. But back to the front now. And big move up the inside there. Luke Dillon up the inside of Kyle Hurst. And Robbie Farr. He's got 2 in 1.
That's amazing. Dillon is just glued to the racetrack here. Kyle Hurst, this is busy. Robbie Farr and Kyle Hurst, they're absolutely blitzkrieging it here at the moment. Farr goes back on the bottom. Dillon into 2nd. Stephen Lyons, your leader. Kyle Hurst is a rocket ship, but how about the drive from Farr and Kyle Hurst? This is epic.
It is, isn't it? This is great racing. These guys are switched back nearly every corner for 2 laps, and the battle for 3rd is very healthy.
Wow, wheel stand again from Hurst. A little bit of front wing damage for him. Robbie Farr searching, trying to find a way around the American, while Dillon busies himself with the idea of running down the race leader, Stephen Lyons. You can see they're all one on the high line now, and McFadden, remarkable drive from the rear to come back to 5th behind Robbie Farr and chasing down the defending champion in that number 25, chasing the guy that won the championship the year before.
This is awesome to watch. James McFadden, he'd be so disgusted with what happened early in the race. He was leading and got taken out. You can see the damage on the wing, and he is just flat out trying to get back to the front. As we see Steve Lyons doing a great job out in front, but what about Luke Dillon? He's come from the B main, and he's in 2nd place, putting a little bit of pressure on the leader. This is going to be a great finish.
You saw him just searching down the bottom just then, Jack, in turn 1 and 2, trying to find something different. There's nothing to be gained by running the same line as the leader. He's on the bottom. He seems to be making ground there.
He does. It looks like Lyons in the lead's persisting with that high line, but the low line could be coming in and producing faster lap times, and he's definitely closing the gap.
And Lyons would have no idea about this. There's no radio communication to the team. There's no mirrors. He has no idea that Dillon has found something special. He goes back upstairs where Fonzie lives on the high line in turn 3 and 4, but now down the bottom in 1 and 2, this is where he's lethal.
He is, and you get a lot of grip down the bottom. You can see he runs a faster apex speed and a little bit more forward bite off the corner. Back to James McFadden. He's running a bit of a neutral line there through the middle of turn 1 and 2. Doing a great job, as we said, to come from the rear of the field after leading the race and being caught up in lap traffic accident. What a shame, but it's still good to watch him charging through the field.
Gee, Kyle Hurst just got a bit of a bobble going into that turn. Hooked it up on the cushion. You have to run up the high line at that part of the racetrack, but down here is where Luke Dillon is coming on. What a drive! He won last night at Speedway City, his first ever World Series victory, and now the unthinkable. He's looking to go back to back. Lyons realises it's time to get it on. Is it too late?
Steve Lyons was doing it comfortably out in front. Who would have thought Luke Dillon from the B main challenging for the lead? What a race.
Hurst is in 3rd. McFadden got back to 4th so far. Robbie Farr and Trevor Green stout for him. Oh my gosh, look at Dillon. He's just literally driven away from the man who led this thing for many, many laps. What a job from Luke Dillon. 1 lap to go. Unthinkable to go back to back. He hadn't won one after about 5 or 6 years of trying. Now he's back to back at Murray Bridge. What a drive, Luke Dillon.
Fantastic. He's gone the double. That's 2 from 2. What better way to start the championship than winning both feature races in the first 2 nights?
Look inside the car. He's absolutely elated. McFadden got back to 3rd. That is just epic. Lyons will pick up 2nd. Farr, how busy was he? And Kyle Hurst for 4th and 5th respectively. Crowd going mental here. And just look at that. He rarely shows that kind of emotion. The action line marking Hog's Breath Cafe 81 in Victory Circle.
Luke Dillon from the B main to Victory Lane. 2 from 2, buddy. Congratulations, man. What an incredible night.
Thanks very much. I tried running the bottom in my heat and paid for it. I got to the top early in the final, and then my crew gave me some advice and changed my car a bit. And it was good. I showed Stephen the line, but I wasn't that worried about it because it was so low. I didn't think he'd get on it straight away. So, yeah, stoked.
Congratulations, man. 2 from 2.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, what a great result. Little Taylor, Dylan, not sure what all the fuss is about. His brand new baby girl and very proud wife, Candice. Jeez, 2 in a row. That man on the right there, Lee Dillon, having a huge amount to do with this. Crew chief on that car, Luke's younger brother. Lyons, McFadden, Farhurst. Greeny, a solid job for Trevor. Stewart got back to 7th. He was busy.
He was, wasn't he? Ryan Jones, Bradley Keller and Daniel Pesca round out the top 10.
Terry Pitt, well done. The budget racer in 11th. Here's Chad with Lyonsy.
Stephen Lyons, 2 nights, 2 podiums, kicking off Speedway in fine style.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, run a pretty solid race, just weren't quite good enough at the end, which is hard to swallow, lead so many laps, but got out-driven and, yeah, probably the car wasn't as good as what we need to be, but we're still reasonably happy, obviously, of last month. Our form's been pretty good, so we'll just keep trying to go again, go to Mount Gambier and see what we can make happen.
23rd podium. Good luck, man.
All right, cheers.
It's extremely rare to see someone come from the rear of the field to finish in the top 5, let alone a podium like James McFadden just did.
Well, James, I don't know whether to say hard luck or well done, man, because that was mixed emotions in that final race.
Yeah, that's his sport, you know. You take the good with the bad. We had good car speed and the boys gave me a great car to drive. That's all I can ask for. It's just a lot of bad luck, but that's his sport.
When you go to the rear, all you can do is drive the wheels off, and that's exactly what you did to get a podium.
Yeah, I got my little elbows up and got a bit of mongrel in me, which was good. I actually enjoy coming from the back, but not when we were leading one.
So that wraps up round 2 of the ENZED World Series Sprintcars presented by Hog's Breath Cafe. And Jack Perkins, another South Aussie bull ring coming up. Round 3 at Mount Gambier.
It is Mount Gambier home track for Stephen Lyons. Can Luke Dillon continue his perfect start to the championship?
Wow, a hat trick. Is it even possible? You'll have to stick around on next week's show to find out. On behalf of Jack Perkins, it's Wade Orange saying, we'll see you next time.